So we're going to find out the most famous possum in Ipswich.
Right.
Harold's come up with this one. Harold H. Peacock-a-doodle-doo.
Yes.
Put him up and let's talk possums. G'day, possum. Hello, possum.
Yeah, Danny, I suppose you're talking to me, but possums throughout history have been very special to the people of Ipswich, so don't put them down too much.
Well, you enlighten us. This is going to be funny.
Yeah, look, the special relationship, an example, is in 1902, so 123 years ago, a possum was responsible for shooting a student teacher of the West Ipswich State School. Now, the teacher's name, his name was Reginald Gordon of Ellenborough Street. He went possum shooting. He grabbed the possum that wasn't actually shot. And in the struggle, the gun was turned on himself. Now, the bullet was extracted by Dr. John Cameron, who went on to become the oldest medical practitioner in Ipswich. And his father, up to that time, was the longest-serving headmaster in the history of the Ipswich Grammar School. But the possums didn't end there, because in 1922, a dozen possums sacrificed their lives for Ipswich.
Wow.
And their skins went on sale at Big White second-hand shop. But it was John Humphreys who was convicted in the Ipswich Police Court of stealing the possum skins. Ipswich's Senior Sergeant Thomas Doherty prosecuted, and he went on to serve in the Queensland Police Service for a then record almost 43 years, which was a mark that stood for almost a century. In 1935, the possums at Possum Creek in Goodna set a record when the estate where they lived got about £1,200 behind in council rates. That's over $500,000 today, and still got to be a record. The council bailiff who then sold the property was Joseph Treagle. Now, he was also Ipswich's returning officer, deputy coroner, and a clerk of petty sessions. His father was founder of Treagle and Sons, which for 30 years was Ipswich's famous confectioners on Bell Street.
Wow.
And then in 1936, the Deputy Premier of Queensland, Percy Pease, went to war against the possums at Possum Creek. That's when Pease declared open season for hunting possum for the whole month of July. But they are actually protected in national parks and state forests because apparently they reduced the spread of mistletoe. Now, the possums got their own back because not long after declaring open season, Pease died in office. But, Danny, the greatest possum story of all was Norman John Claude Sherwin.
Right.
Now, he was better known in Ipswich simply as Possum Sherwin. Now, Possum Sherwin was born in Pittsworth and was a rugby union star in the Ipswich Grammar's first 15 in the 1930s.
Right.
That included the famous 1934 team that went through the GPS competition undefeated and were the narrowest of runners-up the following year. He then played halfback with Ipswich's Tivoli and Starlight Rugby League clubs. In 1937, as a 19-year-old, Possum Sherwin was star of the win over Maryborough. And look, in that match, he stamped himself as a future representative gun. His resolute running, well-timed passing, and ability to pierce a strong defence was said to be a treat to watch, much like your game, Danny. And he was only 5'6" tall.
There you go. It's
just a little possum.
He was.
Yeah.
I mimicked him. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a tough nut. And the following year, in 1938, as a 20-year-old, Possum Sherwin was set to be named in the Ipswich representative team to play Brisbane in the Bulimba Cup. But he wasn't available because he'd already committed to play a match with the grammar school old boys. Now, the Ipswich League team that day was a star-studded lineup which boasted 11 Queensland representatives, 3 of whom also played for Australia, including the famous dual international Doug McLean.
Dougie McLean. I know
That's
his
right.
sons. I played with Peter. It sounds.
Yeah, the famous McLean family. They're huge rugby players. Yeah. And Possum Sherwin was right in there. Now, he actually turned his back on his sporting career to become a school teacher in the country. But in 1939, the world changed. It was, as you know, the outbreak of the Second World War. And, of course, Possum Sherwin was among the first to enlist. Now, with the 12th Australian Infantry Battalion, he rose to the rank of captain and served in the Middle East, New Guinea and Borneo, and was mentioned in dispatches. Anyway, he returned to Australia. You thought he was going to die, but no, he returned to Australia, and although the ravages of war had stolen his best years, Possum Sherwin again ran out onto the rugby league field while following his teaching career. He was said to be the best rugby league player in Western Queensland, without doubt. He was still a star and captain of the Roma representative team in the 1950s, when he would have influenced the great Roma pride, Arthur Beetson.
Arthur Beetson.
That's right. Now, there were many great footballers, of course, who were lost to us because of the war, and Ipswich's Possum Sherwin is one of them. He was a war hero and inspiration to the great Arthur Beetson, and there's no doubt he holds the title of Ipswich's greatest possum of all. No doubt.
You are a funny man. What a build. He built that up. Will he repeat that on your station on Tuesday?
He'll probably have another story for me.
Oh, yeah, that'd be right.
Well, you know.
What a great story, Harold the H. Peacock Doodle-doo. It's 8:20.
Well, there's so many stories out there, Danny. And Possum Sherwin's just one of them, but possums in Ipswich, you know, there's that strange special relationship that we've had for so long.
You're going to have a massive book when you ever put it out.
Oh, look, it'll be tons and tons. You won't be able to hold it, Danny. You know, even with your mighty strength, it'll be heavy.
You're a funny man, Harold. It's lovely having you on the program. We look forward to it. I thought we were going to be talking about possums, but not a bloke who was possum is a possum. So that's where it was interesting and entertaining. So you have a lovely weekend, and you can get that on historyouthere.com, isn't it? History.
That's exactly right. Historyouthere.com, and look after all the possums out there. They are our friends.
Yeah, look after the possums, please. It's 8:21.